Insane footage is coming out of Portland, Oregon, of a single individual gay Asian journalist that was surrounded and brutally assaulted by a predominantly white, Caucasian group of masked individuals. And all of this is happening with even some, quote, journalists in this country not only justifying this, but cheering this on. As if our political discourse was not already insane already, I specifically in this video wanted to talk about the insane reactions from CNN, Ted Cruz, and of course even the Portland mayor around this insane situation that is too familiar to me, as sadly this is something that I experienced myself not so long ago, being also jumped by Antifa at the G20 after a fake news mainstream media journalist took a photo of me standing to an individual that they disagreed with, sent it out to Antifa, and claimed that I was a, quote, right-wing Nazi. Ending up with, of course, me and my friends getting jumped, with my friend Max even having to have knee surgery afterwards, all for the horrible crime of standing next to an individual that they politically disagreed with. And sadly, as you're going to understand after watching this video, this situation, in my opinion, will only get worse from here. Now, before we get into this video, I specifically want to thank everyone who keeps us going to provide you news every single day from an independent perspective that is neither left nor right, doesn't serve any special interest, corporation, or government, because we are financed by you, the viewer. Your donations on WeAreChange.org/donate keep us running, keep us independent, and keep us free here for you every single day, giving you the important news that you can't find anywhere else. Now, I can't say that this story is easy to talk about, especially with my own personal experiences, but I kind of want to stick to the basic details here of what you need to understand, because it is important to understand that Andy Nog is an editor and a journalist that has contributed to the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, and many other news publications. He previously disagreed with and had a voice against Antifa that has been threatening him with violence because of him speaking out against them, which culminated into the events that we saw unfold yesterday, leading, of course, to what looked like severe head trauma, possibly even having some teeth knocked out, and something that I could speak from experience will have long-term psychological effects. Some people are reporting that Andy has suffered a brain hemorrhage, that is the bleeding of the brain, but I have not been able to confirm that independently yet. And from that event, it looks like Andy was not the only victim, as there are other videos coming out of individuals being violently, brutally stomped and attacked, which very interestingly, a lot of people on social media are somehow trying to play off as some kind of minor incident, as something that wasn't that severe, that it was only just a milkshake and silly string. There's actual individuals making this arguments right now, as you're going to see, with blue check marks. But people need to understand the severity and seriousness of street fighting and the possibility of death. If you look up street fight just on Google News, you could see the large cases of individuals that die from head trauma. Many people are desensitized because of Hollywood movies, but they don't understand the severity and the amount of instances where people die because of simple street fights, because of either getting hit in the head or falling and hitting their head, sometimes causing long-term permanent damage and disability or death very easily. Now, the Rose City Antifa group, which many people label as the ones responsible for today's clashes, are currently on social media and kind of using this situation, asking for donations to help with bail money for the individuals that were arrested in, of course, yesterday's clashes. It's important to also understand that Michelle Malkin, another conservative thinker, also started a GoFundMe for Andy, which has currently raised over $100,000 to, of course, support him, his work, and most likely very expensive medical bills to come. Even putting out a call for law enforcement or private security to keep Andy safe, as he is in the hospital right now. The Portland police that didn't intervene during the attack on Andy also tweeted yesterday that, quote, police have received information that some of the milkshakes thrown today during the demonstration contained quick drying cement, quote, "We are encouraging anyone hit with a substance today to report it to police." And the reason they are tweeting that is because quick drying cement can cause, of course, very severe chemical burns. Now, I think this is a pretty clear-cut case of, hey, this is one individual with his opinions. And here is a group of masked individuals who don't like his ideas and will, of course, hurt him physically, and it looks like permanently. To me, this is a clear-cut case of right and wrong here, right? Nope. Not even according to Snopes, which, by the way, is a fact-checker for many social media organizations out there, the technocrats out there, that used extremely vague language here in what could only be described as an absolute idiotic post, somehow casting doubt around this entire situation that he's a journalist, that this even happened. This is absolutely insane. And the insanity, of course, doesn't stop here, as many individuals, including prominent individuals with check marks like this, quote, columnist, really should just be called militant, violent, psychopath activist, who somehow is making claims against Andy without any evidence. Again, if you're going to make these claims to somehow try to justify this happening, you're going to have to show some proof here, which you absolutely didn't. And again, you're insinuating that this attack was somehow justified. A Huffington Post writer wrote, "Milkshakes have the special power of revealing how fascists and their enablers are giant effing snowflakes." Wow. And of course, this Huffington Post blue check marked approved writer, the authority voice, by the way, that is approved by the big tech companies, later, of course, deleted this tweet. And these garbage statements continued from verified people that say that they write for The Guardian, The Nation, The Washington Post, The Atlantic, Vice. This guy claiming that Andy is not a journalist, he's a provocateur. Other sick individuals like this man, blue check mark as well, cheered on and celebrated this attack, trying to say that Andy, of course, wanted this to happen. Wanting brain trauma, head trauma to happen? Or what? Somehow trying to say that he got his wish. And the insanity here is completely backwards. People, again, people that are seen as authoritative voices, like this insane human being, making the argument that because he disagreed and thought differently that he somehow deserved this, was asking for this. An absolute sick mentality that, oddly, these people have no shame in sharing. Even this New York Times opinion writer talked about how he should have known that this was happening. And whether you like Andy or not, I barely even heard of him other than this incident, regardless of his own personal beliefs and opinions, his writings. All of that is irrelevant, and if you're making excuses to what happened to him, you're absolutely sad and pathetic. And we have to ask ourselves, how did we get here? Why are we at such a state of the world where people could look at those violent videos, the brutality of them, and somehow let them go because of the insane bipartisanship? Well, you look at what's been happening with the click, rage, bait, fake news media out there that keeps using more and more hyperbolic talk to get more of attention, more of revenue, more shares, and more eyeballs on their content, specifically the work of Vox, that their premier top writer that has been calling for censorship, Carlos Maza, of other individuals, has even called for publicly to, quote, milkshake them all, humiliate them at every turn, make them dread public organizing. And now, of course, here we are as the result of this. And that is absolutely sickening, and this has been cheered on by the media establishment like ABC. ABC here with their headline, "Antifa violence is ethical? This author explains why." Even state attorney generals put their support behind Antifa, as of course the mainstream media, the rage clickbaiters, and of course even mainline television shows encouraged them to go further and push the lines of what was acceptable. Even a mainline television show on CBS had monologues justifying how it was okay to punch people, to control the Overton window from getting to ideas that they didn't want discussed. Now, where do I stand on all of this? I think it's pretty simple. You don't act like a deranged, mentally handicapped psychopath child and hit someone that you disagree with. I don't care if you're on the left or you're on the right. ideas are just ideas, and they deserve to be fought with communication and more ideas and the free expression of those ideas. It's that simple, and it's still difficult for some individuals to comprehend and understand. And not only do we have a social, entertainment, mainstream media push for these deranged, stupid ideas, of course trying to enforce them with ideological fallacies that are completely backward, but more importantly, in some instances, with these violent actions even being met with a very lax response by the, quote, authorities and law enforcement. And there's been many times that we documented on this independent media organization how police officers have many times infiltrated these Black Bloc and Antifa groups, not just to, quote, spy and infiltrate them, but to many times provoke a lot of the violence. There's been many instances where undercover police officers dressed up as Antifa and were causing violence and harm to the community and individuals in order to justify a stronger response. That's something that needs to be understood here, because if you look at the police response during all of this, it is very lax compared to, of course, the law enforcement actions that we have seen nationwide against groups on the right that also use violence, as they call it, defense, in their own opinion, where throughout the country they were effectively taken down. The mayor of Portland even said, quote, "I was appalled by what I saw in the video, but I support the Portland Police Bureau's decision not to intervene." And this is not the first time this mayor made this kind of insane decision, as previously we saw Portland police stand by, back down, not do their job, and allowed Antifa to have total and full control of the streets, even with the traffic, implementing a hands-off approach to this kind of organized chaos promoted by the state and media. So, of course, with every action, there's going to be a reaction. And, of course, there was two violent groups. One group on the right, one group on the left. I would argue the one on the right has been effectively shut down by law enforcement. Attacked, vilified in the media, shunned away, with many people disavowing them and wanting nothing to do with them. That was a group on the right. On the left, though, I mean, how can you not see that there's an argument to be made here that the polar opposite is happening, not only with help from establishment journalists, but also Hollywood and even some political circles. This is why U.S. Senator Ted Cruz has even called for the federal law enforcement to investigate and to bring legal action against the mayor of Portland, who, as he says, quote, ordered his police officers to let citizens be attacked by what he deems as domestic terrorists. And even though this particular news story is generating a lot of focus, especially on social media, as even Eric Weinstein points out, it's very limited, of course, in the mainstream media circles. But interestingly enough, we even saw Jake Tapper and Brian Stetler, who, to the surprise of many, openly criticized and condemned what happened to Andy. And even though we have CNN actually condemning this, I still personally believe the situation will only get worse from here. Now, there's a number of reasons to think about this. You look at the kind of cult of victimhood, and it's only going to be promoted here, which would, of course, many people making money off of this. But it's not only money that people are after here. It's, of course, attention. It's, of course, PR. The aspects of someone's race and gender are very important here. The aspects of him being alone and a group going after him. The emotional triggering of these images, of this video, captivates a lot of people and will galvanize them to action. And there will be a reaction to this with, of course, many people on the right getting ready to, of course, defend themselves and pretty much saying, hey, the fight is on now, with, of course, many people on the left here not backing down, doubling down at what happened yesterday, and, of course, trying to justify it, while some sick individuals celebrate it. And this is a recipe for disaster that will play out in our political landscape in very, very horrible ways that, of course, will have the fuel poured on it by the mainstream media, the elite media, that, of course, will feed into delusional grandeur, like we documented, into these backward thinking elements where they think hitting someone because they disagree with you is somehow the right thing to do. And it's not. The media elites feed this kind of thinking, defending this kind of insanity. And this is why, sadly, the situation from here will only get that much worse. What do you think will happen? Do you think I'm wrong? If you think I am, let me know in the comment section below. We don't censor any comments. We appreciate your constructive criticism because, again, it's about all of us being able to communicate non-violently, expressing ourselves, building ideas, testing ideas, defending, blocking them down, having a constructive conversation, building by learning from each other that makes society and civilization move forward in our existence instead of backwards. This is the basic idea behind WeAreChange, and if you support this idea, I sincerely want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Stay tuned for more here on WeAreChange.org.